For a lot of MAGA Republicans, every accusation is a confession. We see it all the time where these Republicans are condemning something or someone, and then in secret, they're doing that very thing. And this topic was actually brought up at a town hall recently with Republican Congressman Michael Baumgartner. He's a huge Trump supporter. He was asked to respond to allegations that he's been using the LGBT dating app Grindr in secret. So just take a look at the question and, of course, his response.
That being said, how will you respond to the allegations that you've been using the LGBT dating app Grindr in secret?
This is my wife.
Now, look, listen, I actually looked into this story to see if there were allegations of this taking place, and the person that was asking the question was basing it off of something. I didn't find anything in my research, but I didn't hear a no from the Republican congressman. Unironically, this is something that has happened with many Republicans before. We learned that during the RNC over the summer, the very app in question, Grindr, crashed in Milwaukee while all of these conservatives were there. Many of these conservatives are still people who condemn members of the LGBTQ plus community for just being who they are. The article says here briefly, before we go over more parts of this story, love, or at least a spike of users on the gay dating app Grindr, was reportedly in the Milwaukee area this week while the Republican National Convention was in town. Over 1,000 users reported a Grindr outage in Milwaukee area around 4 p.m. on Tuesday, according to Down Detector, a website that collects online service status information. The Grindr app also allegedly experienced problems in the Cream City on Thursday, the fourth and final day of the RNC, as well in Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. However, Grindr's official status updates show that there hasn't been an outage since May. Nevertheless, a Grindr user who did not want to be identified told the Milwaukee Journal Centennial that he noticed an influx of anonymous users this week. Again, while the RNC was taking place. And this was such a huge story at the time and continues to be something that people talk about, that a comedian, a troll comedian, went up to a bunch of Republicans at the RNC and asked them if they were using the app. And I think the video is pretty funny. I think you should take a look here.
Am I who? Off Grindr, radical, ratty, weenie paint?
Nah, dude.
Oh, you say you be filming?
I don't know what this is, bro.
Oh, are you Big D Weenie 95 off of Grindr?
No.
You said to me at the women's section?
No.
Oh, no, I'm not gay. Nah, you passed the test.
Yeah, no.
You're on Grindr. I'm not on Grindr. You're on Grindr. Are you Slim Bottom from Grindr?
No, I'm from Virginia.
App, you know what I mean, where the men meet up and get naked? Not you.
No.
Okay. Howdy.
Hi there.
How are you?
How are you?
Are you GOP Big D?
I'm a medium.
We're swiping on the Grindr. Meet up.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't do gay sex or anything like that.
Yeah, again, this was such a big story at the time and something that we've seen pretty often with the Republican Party, that there were comedians kind of making a joke out of this. And there's just so many different examples, especially in state legislators around the country, where you have Republicans who propose these anti-LGBTQ plus bills. And then again, in private, they're doing something completely opposite. And I think that, like, look, if you are a Republican and you are part of the LGBTQ plus community, that's great. You can be whoever you want to be. We in the Democratic Party accept you for whoever you want to be. The Republicans, not so much. And I just want to circle back to the whole, every accusation is a confession with the Republicans. And it really just proves to be true consistently, especially recently. I mean, we saw that in Minnesota, Republicans introduced a bill to define Trump derangement syndrome as a mental illness. Of course, this sparked a lot of backlash. A bill that was introduced by Minnesota Senate Republicans to define so-called Trump derangement syndrome as a mental illness has provoked backlash, with some saying the bill trivializes mental health care in the state regardless of the seriousness of its original intent. The bill, authored by Minnesota Senators Eric Lucero, Steve Drazkowski, a bunch of different people, specifically this guy, Justin Eichhorn, you should pay attention to, and available to read in full below, called for Trump derangement syndrome to be added to the list of definitions related to mental health care in Minnesota. So Republicans in Minnesota are basically playing a game with mental health, which is an incredibly serious topic. It would take away from real issues surrounding mental health and trying to make it better, as opposed to, taking it seriously. But the reason I highlighted Justin Eichhorn in this conversation of every accusation is a confession is that this guy is trying to say people who oppose Donald Trump are mentally ill. We also just learned that this very guy has now been accused of soliciting a minor for very inappropriate and very illegal acts. Minnesota State Senator Justin Eichhorn, a Republican, thought he was talking to a 17-year-old girl when he arranged a meetup in Bloomington, a suburb of Minneapolis, but he was actually communicating with an undercover detective. Eichhorn arrived at the location in a pickup truck and was arrested Monday without incident. Records show he was being detained at Hennepin County Jail on Wednesday morning. It was unclear whether he had retained an attorney, and his Senate office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Police said he was being investigated in connection with possible felony charges of soliciting a minor for, again, these very inappropriate, very illegal acts. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office said Wednesday morning that it had not received the case. So perhaps Justin Eichhorn should be thinking about himself and his own wrongdoings as opposed to targeting people who don't like Donald Trump, trying to call them mentally ill. And I just, once again, want to circle back to the central topic that we're discussing here, which is, the Republicans going after members of the LGBTQ plus community, but also privately engaging in either inappropriate conduct, as we've seen here with Justice Eichhorn, or also just engaging in conduct that they wouldn't want to share with their fellow Republicans. I mean, Donald Trump, at the beginning of his administration, threatened to defund schools that accommodate transgender children. So essentially, if a school is saying, hey, this child wants to be who they want to be, their parents are obviously in alignment with that child, let's take care of them and make sure that they're comfortable. Donald Trump said, yeah, I think we should defund those schools. Trump's repeated threat to defund schools accused of teaching a critical race theory and that accommodate transgender students has become part of a rallying call for the right in a culture war over what children should be exposed to. Driving the news, according to Axios, imprinting anti-American, subversive, harmful, and false ideologies on our nation's children not only violates longstanding anti-discrimination civil rights laws in many cases, but usurps basic parental authority, the order states. Now, this is what Donald Trump is focused on. This is what the Republicans are focused on right now. They're thinking about how can we oppress the LGBTQ plus community more. They're thinking how can we target this community more. Donald Trump is signing executive orders almost daily targeting this community and making it a huge issue of his presidency already when it is not an issue. And I just find it funny that the Republicans continue to go after this community and continue to sign legislation in states or even in the White House that target them when maybe they should be focused on issues that are actually issues and actually affecting the American people. We have this article from NBC News that the fears of recession in the United States and the possibility of recession in the United States are going up. Traders on prediction markets where people wager on such events as the likelihood of a recession are increasingly betting on an economic downturn. Polymarket, for example, currently places the odds on a recession in 2025 at 40%. 40%, a sharp jump of nearly 20 percentage points in a month. And I also want to point out that when President Biden was in office around early January, the chances of a recession were around 19.5%, according to this betting market. As soon as Donald Trump gets into office, it goes up dramatically, up to 40%. Experts also see recessionary risk, citing trade tensions, policy uncertainty, and sputtering consumer confidence. I mean, this is all really bad, and this is all a result of Donald Trump. So perhaps instead of signing these executive orders, and again, every accusation is a conviction, and targeting the LGBTQ plus community, maybe they should be focused on these major issues. But I just thought it was so funny how this Republican congressman was asked this question to his face in a very public manner, and his response was not great. No big denial from him, and I thought that was interesting. But anyway, regardless of all that, I appreciate you watching this video. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure to subscribe, drop a like on the video, comment down below. Let me know what you think about all of this stuff. And as always, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.